You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. For Thursday, I think everyone knows Caleb Williams is going to be the number one overall pick. Right now, the odds have him at minus 20,000, meaning you'd have to bet $20,000 to win 100 on Caleb Williams going number one overall. So the Bears have made up their mind. He's going to go number one. Caleb Williams go number one. The question really starts at what do the Commanders do at second overall? On Get Up today, here was Dan Graziano with the absolute latest on Jayden Daniels and the likelihood of him going second overall to Washington.
So at 2, I think most people seem to think at this point it'll be Jayden Daniels. To Mel's point about Washington, their decision-making process has been extremely deliberate, right? And they had a unique situation last week where they brought in a bunch of prospects all at once, including 4 of the top quarterbacks. So what happens today and tomorrow with most of these teams is they sort of gather one more time. They go over the medicals one more time. They kind of have this, finalizing meeting where anybody who doesn't think this is a good idea, speak up. And then they finally settle on it. So I think Washington has reached that point. Who they have settled on, we will see. Again, most people you talk to think it'll be Jayden Daniels, but they have kept it pretty quiet.
There's all this conversation about Jayden's agent. Ron Butler is Jayden's agent. He retweeted like a Washington, it's the Redskins logo, interesting, but it's anyway, some fan on Twitter who said, how many companies do this? Puts them around their peers, bring players from the team along to see how they interact. Who the expletive cares how they interact with players they'll never play with? This doesn't make sense to me. And so the point being that Jayden's agent retweeted that. And so that started this whole conversation about are they, and there were several others, but is Jayden in his camp upset with Washington, all that sort of stuff. And that's whenever the odds of Jayden going number 2 started to drop. And my question is is the anti-Washington noise from Jayden or from his agent? Now look, an agent is paid to be the representative of the player. It's to do the dirty work and all the public conversations so you keep the player's hands clean and all of that stuff. But when you really look at what Jayden would stand to lose if he drops, if you just look financially. So remember, in the 2011 CBA, the NFL capped rookie contracts. So we know slot values. That's why you don't see rookies really hold out anymore, because their values are slotted. We know what it is. So at first overall, the number one overall pick, the slot value is $38.5 million. At number 2, it's $36.8 million. So about $1.7 million difference between 1 and 2, which is significant. But what's really interesting is as you start to drop, the difference between 2 and 3. So the number 2 overall pick, the slot value is $36.8 million. The number 3 overall pick is $35.7. So roughly $1.1 million. I would ask you this, is it worth $1.1 million pre-tax dollars where you're going to pay an agent fee and you're going to pay your money manager and you're going to pay taxes on all that stuff? Is it worth a difference of $1.1 million to go to what you feel is a better spot? Now, I would argue yes. Now, there's a big difference, though, as you really start to look down that list. Because once you get to the 4th overall pick, I don't want to read a bunch of numbers and confuse you. If you're watching, we'll go through this a little bit, and you'll be able to see it. But you go from 38.5 to 36.8 to 35.7 to 34.5. So you're down about $1 million in each of those top 4 picks. But then after 4, you go from 34.5 to 32.3. That's a difference of $2.3 million, right? Now you're starting to see more sizable gaps when you get past the 4th pick. The 5th pick at 32.3, the 6th pick is 28.5. You're talking about nearly $4 million difference between 5 and 6. So now you're talking about really significant money. The point being, if you're Jayden, it may not be a terrible thing if you fall from 2 to 3, because the money, especially after taxes and fees and everything that's going to go in, the money's kind of negligible if you feel like New England's a better spot at 3. than Washington. But, again, this may all just be smoke, and Washington knows they're going to take Jayden Daniels, and that's fine if that's what it is. Maybe it's Jayden's agent trying to push Washington not to draft Jayden in hopes that somebody else may pop up and take him. And the one interesting thing, I saw this earlier today, ESPN had a piece where an anonymous head coach was asked about Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. And the quote read, this is an anonymous NFL head coach. Quote, "It's a no-brainer to me. Jayden looks like the best guy in this draft." So whoever this anonymous NFL head coach is saying he feels Jayden is a better player than Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb we know is going to go number 1 overall. The question is, who is that anonymous coach, and could they potentially make a play if they're quarterback needy to get Jayden Daniels? There's one that would make a lot of sense. One that coached Jayden Daniels when he was at Arizona State. One that, if you remember this, on the night Jayden Daniels won the Heisman, Jayden Daniels mentioned by name in his Heisman speech.
I want to thank Herm Edwards, Marv Lewis, and Antonio Pierce. Thank you for your leadership and welcoming me when I was at ASU, and thank you for giving me the keys to the program.
Antonio Pierce. Where's Antonio Pierce coaching now? Somebody?
Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, he's the Raiders now.
Head coach, yeah.
Oh, he's the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, look at Jayden Daniels did an interview on the Nightcap podcast, and he talked more about Antonio Pierce.
Just AP, man. AP, just as a human being, he the right coach for that team. Just him and the intensity that it brings. He challenged people. He challenged me at 18. So I know if I was to go to the Raiders, I'm not saying I'm gonna go there or I want to go there. I want to go wherever my name called. But if I was to go to the Raiders, I know he go as soon as I step foot, he gonna challenge me. He don't care how high I was drafted, none of that. He gonna challenge me every day.
That's interesting. Well, the Raiders kind of need a quarterback, don't they? They're old quarterbacks in New Orleans now, and running Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's not very good. I don't know. What do you think? You think the Raiders need a quarterback?
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Pretty important position.
Well, they picked 13th. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have Denver at 12 moving up to 4 or 5. Plausible to think you can go from 13 up to the top 5? I think you can get there.
It's plausible for sure.
I think you can get there. Here's the scenario I think that could unfold. Especially with the Patriots GM last week publicly saying we're open for business. What if Drake May goes 2 to Washington? All this hullabaloo. Drake May goes 2 to Washington. And Las Vegas trades up to 3 to take Jayden Daniels. Plausible? Maybe. What would it cost? You might ask, what would it cost?
What would it cost?
Thank you for asking. Well, last year, the 12th pick got traded twice. First to Arizona, then to Houston. Of course, they used that to go up and take Will Anderson. 3. So Houston went from 12 to 3. Well, Houston traded, then Arizona traded again. But anyway, Houston went from 12 to 3. This would be 13 to 3. And Houston sent the 12th pick, the 33rd pick, next year's 1, which is this year, and next year's 3. So a 1, a 2, a 1, and a 3. Tell me Antonio Pierce wouldn't take this year's pick, number 13, this year's second-round pick, next year's 1, and next year's 3. And by the way, they got a 1 and a 4 and a 4. So last year, Houston got Will Anderson, got the 3rd overall pick and a 4th rounder in exchange for 2 1s, a 2, and a 3. Tell me Antonio Pierce wouldn't be pounding the table to do that in Las Vegas? to get the guy he thinks could be his franchise quarterback? I get it, y'all. When we get this close to the draft, it's all the conspiracy theories. It's all leaked stories. It's all agents and other teams or whoever. This is the time where subterfuge and sabotage runs wild. I'm just saying there's a very, very clear relationship, an obvious relationship with Jayden Daniels and Antonio Pierce. There's mutual love and respect. There's an NFL head coach out there anonymously who says he thinks Jayden Daniels is even better than Caleb Williams, best quarterback in the draft. We saw last week the New England Patriots GM openly say, we're open for business, we'll trade back. Okay. So if somehow you can get the Washington Commanders to pass on Jayden Daniels at 2, the difference in the money is negligible if you're Jayden. Go for 2 to 3. But the difference of $1.1 million. It's relatively to the rest of it negligible. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Be a heck of a lot better spot maybe than being in Washington if you don't want to be there. New England with absolutely no weapons whatsoever. Just saying, don't rule it out. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.